Good morning. I'm going to go ahead and see if we can get this set up. Hopefully you are having a great morning. This is business law for Remington Online, and I'm going to get in here and share screen so I can get the correct classroom information up here. There we go. All right. Well, welcome to our week one live chat for business law. We're doing this a little bit late this week for a couple of reasons. Number one, I wanted everyone to be able to get into the classroom and get comfortable with the class and take a look at the syllabus, the textbook, all of that information. Also, I sent an email out to you guys asking when a good time for these live sessions would be. I heard back from only a couple of you. One person said evenings, one person said it really doesn't matter. So I'm going to try to do an evening earlier on in the week, probably Tuesday or Wednesday night by midweek, so that everyone can have the information. Now, for this week, I was going to go ahead and get this scheduled for yesterday. Then apparently there was some sort of a cyber attack on a bunch of websites that was directed at a company in New Hampshire, and it shut down a lot of internet communication. And Remington's website was one of the ones that I could not access yesterday. And it might very well be because I'm traveling this week. I'm up in the Northeast in Massachusetts, and there just seemed to be a lot of disruptions in general with internet service. So that's why we are recording it this morning. And basically this is just a quick session to get you guys acclimated in the class. I know I've talked to some people along the way who think that these little live meetings are a great thing. Other people think they're okay and they don't really make much of a difference. The idea behind them really is to just kind of make sure that everybody is on track with the tasks for the week, knows where to find the information, and can have a time to come in and ask some questions in a live format if you would like to. These meetings are less than 30 minutes long. Normally what I do is go over the tasks for the week, and if anyone is in with me, then I go ahead and offer up any answers to questions that you may have about the week, about the reading, things that are going on. So as you can see, I kind of have a splash page this morning of just the front page of our classroom. This, of course, is where you're going to find the textbook, the syllabus, the student lounge. And I want to remind you that it's really important that you always look for this latest news over here in the right-hand side for the topics that are being added on a weekly basis. I try to put an announcement in each week, kind of giving you a heads up about things that may be going on. I will post information about when the weekly live meeting is going to be, and then once these meetings are done, they get archived and saved into a YouTube format for those of you who aren't able to show up in a live session. And then they are the link to them is placed in this news form as well. So the news form is really important for you to go to every time you log in to make sure that there's not something posted there that's important that you need to know about. Then, of course, when you start scrolling down here, you will see the different weeks laid out. And when you click on the week, that is where you find the tasks for that particular week. And you can see for this week, we have a discussion board, a quiz, an assignment, and then this live session. So the discussion boards, when you go into them, obviously you can see the question. The question this week was, how do multinationals benefit society, and what kind of detriment can they be to society? And we've had good response. Jessica, Pamela, Ashley, Nancy, and Kim, you've all been in there and talking about your thoughts and ideas on multinational corporations. And I think you guys have done a good job coming up with some of the pros and cons. In business, you'll find that there's a pro and a con to everything. That's what makes it interesting to discuss, because while one person may see it one way, another person sees it another way. I can give you some examples of this. I grew up in a small town in Massachusetts, about 18,000 people. Massachusetts and the Northeast in general, there's a lot of history here, a lot of historical monuments and houses and whatnot. And it's kind of a quaint area where in a lot of these little towns, it was all about the mom and pop stores and the local businesses. And when I was a kid, going back some years now, but when I was probably in high school back in the 80s, Walmart wanted to expand into the town that I grew up in. And there were a lot of people who welcomed the idea of Walmart because of the tax base, the taxes they were going to pay on this big building that they were going to build, and all of the jobs that would have been created, and the ability for the people in town to shop at a place where prices are lower and there's a lot of selection. But there were a lot of people in town who were very much opposed to Walmart. This was the time back in the 80s and 90s when Walmart was getting a lot of pushback over this idea of, were they going to destroy the American downtown? And now back in the 80s is when the big push to malls came about. I remember being a child, and the first mall came to the area, and this idea of being able to go and shop in one big huge building that had a whole bunch of different stores in it was really a new and novel concept. And it was all about convenience. You go and you park once, then you're able to go in and shop at a bunch of different places. Walmart kind of was an extension of that, where it was almost one huge type of department store in a way. And a lot of people were interested in that concept. So at the end of the day, Walmart coming to town was defeated. And what did Walmart do? Well, Walmart went up over the border into New Hampshire, which is only about 20 minutes away from where I grew up, and they built a store there. So Walmart usually finds a way to get into an area, but a lot of people in my town ended up kind of kicking themselves over the idea that, still a lot of people in town got in cars and drove the 20 minutes to where the Walmart finally ended up being, and did their shopping there anyways. But the town didn't have the benefit of having the tax base and the jobs right in our town per se. So you saw a lot of that in the 80s and 90s. It's interesting that malls have kind of died off in the last decade. You see a lot of empty malls all over the country that have closed down, and a lot of little towns kind of went back to this idea of wanting a downtown feel. In Florida, where I've lived most of the last 20 years, a lot of little towns started creating these new downtown areas, new buildings set up to look like a little old downtown area where you could park and then walk to all of the storefronts and go have something to eat and go to the movie theater. And it was kind of a replica, in a way, of what the old American downtowns used to look like. And those have been very popular for about the last decade. It's almost like people, the pendulum has swung, and people went from the, oh, gee, we want to go to the mall and have everything really convenient, to, oh, we'd like to have the nostalgia of having the feeling of like we're walking in an old downtown community and patronizing those businesses. There's been a big push in the last 10 or so years to revive a lot of downtowns as well. You see downtowns in small cities and towns trying to revive themselves, and the malls are kind of going the way of the dinosaur in some respects. So I think there's room for both, and the idea then becomes, do these multinational companies, these big conglomerates, do they help us or do they hurt us? And I think you can look at both sides of the story and you can come to some conclusions as to whether or not you think overall they are more of a benefit or more of a detriment to our society. So I wanted to tell everyone, great job working on this discussion board so far. Now, remember, you need to do a main post, and you also need to do some really good comments to your classmates. At least 2 comments to your discussion boards. That's what needs to be done. So make sure that you are doing that. Now, and normally the grading for these will be done at the end of the week. So if you're making your posts and you're not seeing grades posted, that's okay. I normally wait for everyone to get through the week and get all of their comments in, and then I go back in and grab all of the comments and grade them. So don't worry if you're not seeing grades being posted throughout the week for your comments. It will happen when the end of week grading takes place. So no worries about that. A couple other things that I wanted to kind of tell you as some hints and tips on how to tackle these things. With the assignments, you want to make sure that you are hitting the minimum deliverable word count, at least that. And you see for this one, it says 250 to 300 words. Now, I'm going to warn you that when we get into weeks 2 through 5, that deliverable doubles. So if you are doing 250 to 300, 400 words for this one, make sure that you know that starting next week, those deliverables get higher. So make sure that you read the assignment, and this one asks you to go in and read a case that is in your textbook, and then talk about the fact that the defendants argue that there are no damages despite allegedly high legal fees and diminished business reputations. How would you say that the shareholders' claims, what would you say that those are, and about this idea that the officers and directors, what they did led to harm to the company? Now, when you're talking about officers and directors of a company, there's a generalized idea in business that officers and directors are held harmless for the day-to-day business decisions that they make about the business, because that's what they're hired for. They're hired to make decisions on a daily basis. And if you own a share of stock in Disney, you're probably not watching every day what it is that the management is doing to make sure that they're doing the right thing as far as you're concerned to preserve your investment. So most times, officers and directors go along and they run the business on a daily basis. But once in a while, they do things that the shareholders collectively feel were really not in the best interest of the company, of the shareholders, of the employees. And then they can bring suit against the directors or the officers of the company. So in this McSparren versus Larson case, you're going to read about a case that played out like that, and then make some comments about why the shareholders felt that the officers and directors should be held accountable, and that they did in fact create harm to the corporation. Okay, so those are always due for Sunday. Now, you also have a quiz, and the quizzes say that they're due by Sunday, and I know some people like to jump in and get the quizzes out of the way, but what I would tell you is I think the quizzes are best off done a little bit later in the week, because to me, once you've done your reading and once you've worked on your discussion and you've worked on your paper, that's when you're probably feeling the most comfortable with the information that you've been studying all week. What seems to happen for some people is when they try to jump in and do the quiz right at the beginning of the week, they haven't spent enough time with the topics to feel comfortable with them, and it just can add a little bit of extra stress to taking the quiz. I tell people, don't stress out about these quizzes. All quizzes are is a chance for you to show us what you have retained from your work for the week. So I don't want you to be stressing over them. They're not a ton of points, but you want to go ahead and do your best. You want to read questions carefully in quizzes. That's the whole idea behind a quiz, is that usually the questions are crafted in such a way that it makes you question yourself as to what the right answer may be. You've got your textbook, you've got the internet that you can look at, and at the end of the day, the quizzes are just one portion of the class. You've got papers each week, you've got a final exam, writing essays at the end of the term, you've got these live sessions to comment about, and we've got discussions. So I don't want you to put an abundance of worry into the quizzes. But I think if you try reading through the questions carefully and then doing them near the end of the week, I think you will find that that may be a better fit for you. Okay, so that's basically the type of information that we talk about in our weekly chats. Again, if people are able to make it in at the time that we do these little meetings, I can answer questions. We can discuss some of the topics in depth. If you're confused about anything or you want to know where to find some more information on a topic that may be of particular interest to you, we can talk about those things in our live meetings together. But overall, it's just a way for us to get together and kind of touch base, make sure everyone's on track and moving forward with the tasks for the week. So, having said that, I hope you are enjoying the first week of class and that you're getting acclimated and feel like you are finding your way around the topics and the information. Feel free to email me if you have any questions that you want me to answer. We'll look at, it may be Tuesday night or Wednesday night this coming week. I need to travel for work on Monday, and I'm not home until very, very late. And Tuesday is going to be a crazy day because I have been out of town for a week. So it may be Wednesday evening this week that we will look at doing the live meeting for week number 2. But again, if you look in the news forum when you get online, each time you log into the classroom, that's a good place to look for information. So, having said that, I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll look forward to speaking with you during week number 2, and let's have a great term in business law. So take care. Bye-bye.